Good.
All right, everybody, this is Emar Sopus for Sports Inquirer, and we're happy to be joined by Georgia State Offense Coordinator Brad Glenn. Brad, thank you for joining us during a very wet and today morning here in Atlanta, but obviously it's a very busy preseason as well, so thank you for your time. It's your third year with the program, and you're back for another year. Just what about your development and just the growth of the program and the offense since you came in? What have you just noticed over the past few years that's led the team to reach school records just in your time?
Well, just number one, the depth that we've developed at each position now. We've got 100% of our production returning from last season. And just to have that, to know those guys have been through the battles and know that, for a lot of those guys, it's their third season in the offense, that gives us a relief to just know that they're prepared mentally and, know what they can and cannot do. But I think just the overall depth of each position, just feel like we've got quality guys, as ones and twos and even some threes. That's the biggest thing right now.
Do you think that's the biggest difference when you look at top 25 programs, national championship contenders, even top teams in the Sun Belt? Is depth just the biggest difference you think, as far as, because everyone's first 11 seem to be very good, but it's that second and third unit when someone gets injured or underperforms? Do you think that's like really the difference between a team that can compete and a team that can really achieve high success?
I think you're hitting the nail on the head right there. I mean, just, because you are going to have injuries. It's a long season. It's a physical sport. You're going to have injuries, and to know that you have quality depth, at each spot, I think is huge. And also it breeds competition, competition. Our ones know, that if they're not locked in and focused and doing their job every day, that there's a guy right there behind them that's going to push them. So I think that helps increase, their production. So it's huge. I think you're exactly right. To have depth that separates the men from the boys.
Yeah, and you return all 11 starters on paper, from last year. Was this offseason different than in the past? Not only because of maybe the pandemic last year just made everything different, but just as far as schematically, was there less teaching and maybe more just development and continue to build on what you did last year?
Yeah, you build on it and you really focus on the details. Those guys, I think, we practiced 10 or 11 today, and we've already probably got 95% of our offense in, because like I said, a lot of these guys, it's their third time through the install. So we pushed the install a little bit faster. And now you really can focus in on the details of each position and of each player and focus in, what skill set do they bring to the table. So it makes everything go much smoother to have that experience.
And we'll start with Cornelius Brown, your sophomore quarterback coming back for another year. And you work specifically with quarterbacks as well, besides being the offensive coordinator. What about his maturation and growth just from a freshman year that was very well to now as a sophomore and continuing his growth as a player?
Yeah. And he had a solid freshman year. I would say that was a solid year for him, but obviously a lot of room for improvement. The thing we focused on is just, making better decisions with the football. That's in our offense, the quarterback, has a lot on him as far from a mental standpoint. So just having gone through an entire season and understanding defenses a little better, it seems like spring ball and then going into the first, 10 or so days of fall camp, he's just making better decisions and taking care of the football. Way too many turnovers. I think he had 10 picks last year. That's the one thing we focused on in the spring and in the beginning here of fall camp is just, understanding how to distribute the football. He's the point guard, so to speak, of our offense. So done a very good job with that. Physically, he's a little bit heavier, not a lot, but a little bit heavier than he was this time last year. But just a lot of growth really from a middle standpoint. And as long as he keeps doing that, the sky's the limit for him. And I think another big thing for him is he's understanding that it takes more than talent. He's a talented guy, has all the tools, but he's understand to be great and to be what we want him to be and what he wants to be, that it takes more than talent. And that's just part of the maturation process like you're talking about.
Yeah, and he benefits from having a returning offensive line that returns all the starters, including Shamarius Gilmore and Malik Sumter, all conference performers. Is this the deepest line that you've had at Georgia State? And how important has that been, just knowing that you have a good rotation of guys that can be your blockers for the offense?
Oh, no question. That takes all the pressure in the world. Having those guys, just the chemistry that they've built with each other and the trust. You're standing back there and you've got the bullets flying at you. You got to trust, those guys up front, and he trusts them. All our quarterbacks do. Just from the standpoint, they've been through the wars, they've been through the battles. So that's huge. Just having the chemistry with those guys, and then again, like I said, having those quality backups, and we have quality along the line for sure.
Yeah, and you also returned Destin Coates going to the running backs. We speak with Coach Elliott often, and he emphasizes the running game being the most important part of the offensive attack. What does that really mean as far as for people that are listening? When you say you want to focus on the run game, what does that entail? Does it mean running more than passing? Is that just in practice you emphasize it a bit more? And how do your running backs kind of work with that just running scheme and doing well there?
Well, it's his belief and my belief too. To win at an elite level, to win championships, you got to be able to run the football when you want to run it, and obviously that starts with up front with the OL, but it also has, you have to have good backs, and we've got good solid backs. Right down the line, probably 4, maybe even 5 guys, right off the top of my head that we can trust to run the football. And it's just our belief that we're going to find ways, and we're going to play tough, and we're going to coach tough, and find ways and create ways each week to run the football when we want to. Now, having said that, you still want to be balanced. I don't think you can be a one-dimensional team, whether it's just with rushing the football or passing the football. We want to be balanced, and we've got enough playmakers in each spot that we want to get those guys involved at the receiver position, at the tight end position, along with those backs, and kind of distribute the ball equally among all those guys.
Just following the Georgia State program over the past few years, especially during your time, obviously you had Destin Coates. He is the all-conference performer last year, but you always seem to have 2-3 running backs that can each get amount of carries in every contest. Is that philosophy that you think's developed over the years, not to have the one running back get 20, 30 carries, but maybe have 5 guys get 5 each, or how distributing the carries? Do you think that's just the way the game has changed, or do you think that's more how you guys feel comfortable just having a rotation of backs that can get 5-10 carries a contest?
Yeah, well, the one thing about our scheme and our system, that you've seen over the past 2 years is we like to play up tempo. Mm-hmm. We like to play at a fast pace, so we got to keep those guys fresh. So you want depth at running back. Obviously, if a guy gets hot, he's having a good game, you're going to keep feeding him the ball, and he may stay in there longer and get more carries. But to play at the pace that we want to play at, you've got to have 3 or 4 quality guys back there that you can trust and get in the game, and they stay fresh. But those guys know if we've got a hot hand, if we got a guy back there that's feeling it and having a really good game, we're going to go with him. But for the most part, let's divide it up. Let's keep a fresh guy in there because we have depth. We have quality guys. And when you've got quality guys, you don't want them just standing over there on the sideline. You want to get them in, get them involved. And that's what we have.
Yeah, you mentioned your receivers and tight ends. You have 3 all-conference guys, Sam Pinkney and Cornelius McCoy at wide receiver, Roger Carter, all-conference tight end. I just spoke with Sam earlier, and I'll ask you this from a coach's perspective. All those guys are talented and can really take over a contest. How, as a coach, do you handle that? If one game, maybe a guy gets 5 targets, next game he may only get 1 or 2. But with all those talented guys in that room, the receiver room, how do you, similar to running back in a way, how do you keep everyone, I don't say content, but on the same path, and as far as a program with all that talent?
Well, they got to know this is a team game, and they got. I obviously understand their individual goals, but the number one thing is when the zeros are on the clock in the game is we're winning the game, and we don't have selfish guys. They bought into our culture of this team first, and it's human nature to want the ball, and I understand that, but again, it's a team game, and in the 2 years that I've been here, we really haven't had that issue. Those guys understand I'm going to do my part. And one thing I like to tell the wideouts all the time is, we tell our guys we want 80 snaps a game. We try to get 80 snaps. And over the past 2 years, I think we've averaged, around 77, 78, 79 snaps a game. But if you have an All-American day, if you have the best day of your career, out of those 80 snaps, and you may catch 10 balls. Well, what are you doing the other 70? So we teach them. It's huge, and our receiver coach does a great job, Coach McKnight, with that about, you're playing with the ball, and you're going to play without the ball and play well, and they take pride in it. Our guys, our receiving corps takes pride in their blocking because they know they're going to be asked to do that, and I think it just goes back to the culture, that Coach Elliott's created here. That we know it's all about winning a game, regardless about stats.
Sure. Two more things. You guys are starting to get national recognition. Sam Pinkney is a Bolitnikoff Award nominee. I think you have I think Shamarius Gilmore is for the Outland Trophy, or one of the National Linemen of the Year. What about that recognition just for those guys, and the acknowledgement that your program under yourself and Coach Elliott, you guys have just evolved, and now getting preseason acknowledgement with those honors?
Yeah, I think I was talking the other day to someone. I think we have somebody at every position on offense for those watch lists, which is incredible. But that just speaks to this team's work ethic and those guys, how they go about their business every day, and how much effort, how much work they put into it, from the off season in the weight room to training camp to, spring practice, just year round. Their dedication and commitment to bettering themselves at their craft. And that's kind of the mentality and the culture, again, that Coach Elliott and we've created here. And they've all bought into it. And, one thing I like to tell offense, let's just get 1% better every day. And I think all of our guys, top to bottom, have just bought into that. Just getting better every day and improving. And but that just speaks to our guys' work ethic and how hungry they are to be good.
Sure. And last thing, at this stage of the preseason, you mentioned the installation. You're about 95% there. Do you start looking at Army yet, or get into that, or do you wait for game week for that? How do you balance that out as far as your preseason activities, or have you been looking at Army that's the first game of the season for those listening and watching in a few weeks? Have you done any Army scouting yet, or are you just more focused on yourself still at this stage?
Really, we're focused on ourselves. And we're kind of conditioned as coaches that you get a week. You get a week to see somebody and kind of, scout those guys. So right now we're more focused on us and the details of what we do. And then when it gets to being about, 9-10 days out, we'll kind of turn our focus to Army and watching those guys as a staff and maybe showing a little film of Army to our players.
And actually, this would be the last thing, because people always want to know, we know about all the returning starters, but who are some underclassmen, some incoming freshmen, or even some juniors and seniors that are really doing well this preseason that can contend for a starting spot or be major contributors from the line all the way to even a quarterback, or maybe even a receiver? Who are some 2 or 3 guys that really had strong fall camps for you?
A guy who has, been solid for us in the past and had a little bit of a down year last year, but has had a great camp so far to me is Aubrey Payne. He's back healthy again, and he's really had a strong camp for us. Another guy that you think of is Jamari Thrash at receiver. He's done a tremendous job for us. So the big thing for him is just consistency. In the past, and he's starting to play a little more consistent, but he's confident in what he's doing. And when you go out there and you play with confidence and have an understanding of your assignment, you know, you're going to be a little bit more consistent. And that's what we've seen from him. But both backup quarterbacks have had excellent camps. You know, Michele Colacerdo, who's really, this is his first camp because he missed last year with COVID, you know, so I think he's having a good camp. Darren Granger, you know, the transfer in from Furman. This is his first camp being with us. So both those guys are really strong. And then some freshmen, you know, all three of those freshmen O-linemen that we signed. We signed 3 freshmen O-linemen this year, and they really showed right off the bat, just from an effort and a mentality standpoint. You know, now they're getting a little bit bogged down with all the installation, it being their first go round and all, but really excited about all 3 of those guys.
Oh, great, Brad. Thank you for your time. We greatly appreciate it, and good luck this open up the season.
Thank you. Appreciate it.